So I've been making content for about 4 years now, which is kind of crazy for me to think about. It feels like longer in some ways, but also feels like less time than that. But there's just been so much that I've learned, both about content, but also about life, which I didn't really expect, to be honest. So today I just thought I would share 3 different things that I've learned that were a bit unexpected when it comes to content creation and life. Because if you're watching and you're also a content creator, I can fully understand how difficult it can be to persevere, especially if you're the only person you know who makes content, or if you only know maybe 1 or 2 other content creators. It can be really hard to persevere. So hopefully some of these things will resonate with you and help you feel a bit less alone in your efforts. So the first kind of unexpected thing that I've learned is that personal development and content creation for me have gone kind of hand in hand. And I think I've noticed it especially since going full-time 2 years ago. But even before that, it was definitely a thing. And I think the reason is because when it comes to making my own content, it all comes back to me. So if I have a video that doesn't succeed, or if I have a video that does do well, I'm kind of purely responsible for it. Whereas when I was working in other jobs, like as an employee in the past, there's always someone else I could blame, which is really bad, honestly. But I used to blame my boss or my co-workers. I could just say, oh, it was their fault that this didn't work, or, it was some other external reason why, my work wasn't as good as it could have been. Whereas when it comes to content creation, it's like, I'm the one making the content, I script it, I do the thumbnails, I film it, edit everything. The entire process is completely up to me. So if anything goes wrong, I didn't really have anywhere else to go, and I had to look at myself, especially when it comes to trying to make my channel grow, also improve my videos. It's really forced me to keep looking back to myself to really see where I need to grow personally. For example, I just made a video talking about motivation, and that was one of the things that I couldn't just solve with the right technique or learning some motivational method or something like that. I had to really look at myself and say, why am I not motivated to make more content? Why am I not more motivated to get off the couch and actually create something? And this is also applied to things like fear and focus. Like I've noticed a lot of fears come up about, failing as a content creator, problems coming out with focus. Like sometimes I just can't concentrate. And again, I've had to think about, okay, why am I personally finding it so hard to focus? Or why do I have this fear, for example? And how can I push past it so that I can actually get my content created? And as challenging as that has been, honestly, this has been one of my favorite things about making content, has been that it's really forced me and given me the opportunity, I should say, to really look at myself and figure out where I need to grow personally. And as a result, I've just learned so much about myself, especially in the last 2 years. I feel like I've almost learned more about myself than I have about content creation. And I think that's just something I really love about small business in general. It just forces you to look at yourself and actually develop as a person. I think the second lesson that I've learned is that content creation is actually a lot harder than it looks. I think when I first got into it, I saw all these big creators and it just looked so effortless, especially sitting down in front of a camera or editing cool videos, all that type of stuff. It just looks easy, especially vloggers as well. Vloggers make it look so simple. Pull a camera out of their pocket wherever they are and then magically a video appears. But when I first started, I was really humble and I thought, man, this is actually a lot more challenging than I thought. And to this day, there's some aspects in terms of technique and technicality that I still find challenging. Like for example, it's actually really hard, I find, to film myself in public. It's a lot easier sitting in a studio, but when I go outside and film things like in a park or something like that, when I'm doing a camera review, you feel so much more self-conscious. But then there's also all the technical stuff. So like actually knowing how to film, knowing how to edit and use entire editing suites and software like Final Cut Pro, learning how to be confident in front of a camera, learning how to set up audio equipment, learning how to set up a studio, all these different technical things. But they're actually kind of the smaller challenges I found when it came to the difficulty of content creation. I think there's much bigger challenges that I've personally come across, and these have all been mental challenges. So just 2, for example, the first one I've already kind of touched on, and that is facing the fear of failure. I actually didn't realize how much of a fear of failure I had in connection with my work. But again, facing the reality that I'm purely responsible for my entire business, all of my content, made me really face the possibility that I could really actually fail at this. And that forced me to wrestle with what that meant for me as an individual. And I think one of the things I've learned from that is that I've connected way too much of my self-worth with my career and with my work and what I output into the world. And so I'm going on a big journey of learning how to develop my self-worth outside of what I do and outside of what I achieve in life. But that fear of failure is still a constant thing that I wrestle with on a weekly basis. And it makes it really tough, especially on those months or weeks where things don't feel like they're going very well, where your views feel like they're down, or I haven't been making videos that I feel like are up to my usual standard. That's when that wrestle becomes really tough. And then another really big one for me, which I think again applies to lots of small businesses, not just content creators, but it's the uncertainty. It's the ups and downs of content creation. Because like I said, some months I'll I'll have a really good month where I'll produce really cool videos, I'll work with cool brands, make a good amount of money, and then the next month I'll have a terrible month. Won't make hardly any money. I won't hear from any brands or sponsors. I'll feel totally unmotivated. And there's just this constant kind of roller coaster up and down of like lows and highs. And then the uncertainty of not knowing whether or not all this hard work is actually going to pay off. Not knowing whether long term this is a sustainable business or whether this is something that's going to fizzle out. You just don't really know when it comes to content creation, especially I think for the first couple of years when I was still establishing my channel and trying to figure out what I was doing with it. That uncertainty is just a constant. It's always there. And even to this day, that uncertainty is still something that I really struggle with. But again, I think the flip side of this, or the positive takeaway from all of this challenge, is that I've learned so much, I think, about perseverance, about like mental fortitude and becoming tougher, learning to push through challenges. And then that's also resulted in me, I think, becoming a stronger person in life in general, not just related to content creation. And this has been amazing when it comes to starting to face my fears a bit more. And like I said, learning to disconnect my self-worth from the performance of my output or my career or what I put into the world. And then the third kind of unexpected lesson that I've learned is that you actually really have to be a lot more business savvy than I thought. And I think this is a kind of a trap that a lot of creatives tend to fall in, where I think we tend to think that if we just get really good at creativity and make really amazing creative work, then money and sustainability will just naturally follow. And I think maybe this is true for a select few people who are just super talented, but for the majority of us out there who are kind of a normal amount of creative, but we really enjoy it, I think it takes a lot more business savvy to actually monetize your creativity and turn it into a sustainable business. And there's so many different aspects of this that you kind of have to learn how to get good at. Like for me, it's been doing things like taxes, like learning how to do my taxes properly or getting an accountant. Things like learning negotiation when it comes to contracts with sponsors and brands, marketing for both affiliate sales and for my own products, developing my own products, coming up with a business plan, coming up with a business strategy, just financial planning in general, and learning how to track my expenses and my income so that I know how much I can actually realistically spend. All this kind of thing is stuff that I don't think I fully realized how much knowledge and experience I would need to have to actually make a full-time content creation job sustainable. But again, for me, I absolutely love all of this. Like I've been in small business in and out for about 10 years now, and I've always loved it so much. I mean, I even studied business at university, so I've got a bachelor's degree in business, majoring in entrepreneurship. And I'm telling you right now, I reckon I've learned about 95% of my business savvy just from actually being in and running small businesses. I think about 5% of what I learned practically that's applied to my small business, even my content creation I learned at uni. So I think if you're interested in small business or content creation, there is absolutely no substitute for just jumping in and doing it, because you'll learn through experience, let me tell you. So there you go. There's a few unexpected things I've learned over the past 4 years. Let me know in the comments if any of that resonates with you, what your challenges have been, what your victories have been. And if you want to hear more about what I've learned specifically about motivation over the past 4 years, then check out this video here because I talk all about that right there.